Welcome back, everybody, into episode 18 of the Rundown Podcast. We know you guys missed us. I'm Eli. We got JP in the building.
What's up? What's up?
We got Noah.
What's going on?
And then last but not least, we got Destin.
Back in the building. What's up, fam?
Man, how y'all feeling about college football finally being back? Football in general being back, because we got NFL games kicking off this week. How's everybody feeling right now?
Man, it's about time. It's the best time of the year. It's finally upon us. Hopefully it's not like last year and it just goes by in the blink of an eye. Like I'm trying to enjoy this year. It's a lot of teams, both NFL and college football. It's going to be really good, really interesting to watch. But, yeah, it's the best time of year, man. I'm so excited.
I mean, yeah, I'm excited. Football's finally back, like you said. I'm going to be taking that fantasy championship with me. The Chiefs winning the Super Bowl and Bama going to win the championship. So I'm getting 3 rings this year, so I'm chilling. Yeah, I'm just glad the season's back. We finally got football back, and I'm too excited.
Yeah, I echo all of y'all sentiments. NFL is really what I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, it used to be college for me when I was a kid, and now it's totally flipped. I look forward to NFL Sundays more than anything. So yeah, just that having college football and NFL back on is dope, amazing.
Right. Well, we got a lot to cover and talk about. You know, we're going to be getting into some college football first, and then we're going to be previewing week 1 of the NFL as well and week 2 of college football. And then last but not least, we're going to have this little segment where we do buy or sell when it comes to either players or teams from the NFL or college football. But first, let's get into some college football, some big-time matchups that we had in week 1. What were some of you guys' takeaways from this first matchup where College Game Day was hosted between Ohio State and Notre Dame?
I didn't like how the offenses looked, especially on Ohio State's side, with all the hype they've had coming through this offseason with C.J. Stroud being back, Jackson Smith and Jigba, arguably the best receiver in the country, coming back because he was a freshman last year or a sophomore last year. Sorry, but with Jackson Smith and Jigba going down for a couple of weeks with the injury, that's going to hurt them. But Ohio State just looked stagnant on offense. I don't know if that's a credit towards Notre Dame's defense, because I know their head coach is more of a defensive-minded guy. But just the way Ohio State looked in that game, I know it's week 1, so I don't want to overreact, but the way they look, I don't see them being able to contend with teams like Georgia or Bama for the championship this year.
Just because Notre Dame's history, everyone expects Notre Dame not to be able to compete with a team like Ohio State or Alabama. So when those big games come up, when Notre Dame doesn't get blown out, it makes the other team look bad. But I think that Notre Dame's defense, you got to give them credit. I think that Ohio State, it's the first game of the year. You know, everybody's got to get those first game jitters out. You give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there was too much hype on Ohio State going into the year, trying to compare them to what Joe Burrow is going to be this year. That's what I was hearing. They said this was going to be one of the best offenses ever. So they might not be that good, but I think they'll step up, get better, especially when they get the best receiver in the country back. So I'm not worried about Ohio State. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction to think that they can't compete with the Bamas and the Georgias of the world.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think when it comes to the offense, obviously it's the first game of the year. And I think a lot of what had to do with their struggles offensively with Smith and Njigba going out with injury. I think he's a huge part of their offense. But at the same time, I think you also have to give a ton of credit to Notre Dame and their defense. And this is the same team that people slept on during the playoff. And, even though they got beat by 17 against Bama back in 2020 when they were so dominant, they held Alabama to the least amount of points that they scored all year long. They held them to 31 points with Devontae Smith, with Mac Jones, with Najee Harris, with that loaded offense with Jalen Waddle. That was the least amount of points Alabama had scored all year long. So Notre Dame is known for being a solid team. I don't know if I would break them into the college football playoff talk, but they're definitely a top 10 team without a question of a doubt. That defense was amazing, and you can tell those players are bought into Marcus Freeman and what he's trying to bring into that new culture with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you guys saying. I'm with Destin. I don't overreact to week 1 games, especially when you play a top 5 team. I mean, whether we respect Notre Dame or not, they're top 10 team year in and year out. So I know the line. I think the line was 17 points, and I think people just expected Ohio State to run them off the field. But you still got to respect your opponent, and I think Notre Dame showed that they could at least compete with a team like Ohio State. So I don't really overreact to the score of it only being I think it was in a 11-point game.
Yeah,
I think Ohio State's going to be putting up 40 for most of the year, and they're going to be fine, and they're going to be in the playoff. I mean, besides Georgia, Bama, I don't really see anybody else that's better than Ohio State right now, even with that performance.
yeah, and I mean, I think even with the struggles offensively for Ohio State, I'm not going to be one to overreact, kind of like what you and Destin touched on, because a few years ago, the same year that Ohio State won a championship, lost to Virginia Tech in their first game of the year. So, I don't think week one's necessarily, that's not enough proof to make me overreact about anything. But there were some struggles offensively from CJ Stroud and the rest of the guys on Ohio State. CJ Stroud had 34 passing attempts and barely over 200 yards passing. So that's a bit of a concern if you're an Ohio State fan. That's something you got to look out for. That's something that, you look for your team to improve on. So that's one thing. They definitely have room for improvement. There's still a lot of work to be done up until the playoff starts, but there were some red flags. But I thought Ohio State's defense held up really good though, and played a really good game.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that worries me a little bit about Ohio State is how the other guys or how the other teams in the Big Ten are looking week one. Like Pittsburgh looked good, Penn State looked good too, and as well as Michigan, which I know Michigan they played a nobody school, but what I saw in Michigan is just like how clean they played, and they just look like they're in midseason form already. They need to figure out who their true QB1 is because they had McNamara starting last week, and next week they're going to have their new guy. He's going to start because they're in a little bit of a quarterback battle. So whenever Michigan gets that figured out, it'd be interesting to see how Michigan plays throughout the year. But that's what worries me a little bit about Ohio State as it goes on the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I get that with Ohio State, but this is my concern with Michigan, though. You brought up Michigan, and I'm going to have to kind of disagree with you because they haven't even named a starting quarterback yet. So that's going to be a split locker room. When you have a quarterback battle still going on in mid-season, I think Michigan's going to have a down year. I don't think that they're going to be as good as they were last year. And I think with the quarterback situation, that's just going to make it even worse because the longer that this QB battle goes on for, the more turmoil that there's going to be in the locker room. So I'm going to have to disagree about the Michigan take, but they did look good in their week one matchup, but at the same time, they were playing to nobody. And I think the longer that QB battle goes on for, the more I get worried about Michigan.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have a down year per se. I think it'll be a regular Michigan year. They'll probably beat everybody and end up losing to Ohio State at the end of the year because they don't have a quarterback as good as CJ. But I probably said the same. I'm not as far as you are on them, but I don't think they'll have that bad of a year. They do need to pick a quarterback.
I'm not saying that they're going to go down to 8 wins, but I think it's going to be like a 9-4 year for Michigan, honestly.
No,
or a 10-3 year. I think it might be a 9-4, 10-3 1 year for them. They're not going to be as good as they were last year.
9-4.
Yeah.
All right, Eli. I gotta get on Noah, but I'm gonna get you next. Ohio State. You got to put some respect on Ohio State's name. All right, they're the king of the Big Ten. All right, Big Ten, probably top 2 conference year in and year out, has at least 5 or 6 ranked teams, and Ohio State is consistently there. Now, I will also remind you guys that they're the only top 5 team that played another top 5 team. So I mean, we gotta relax on the. I mean, I like I said, I know Notre Dame is not a team that we usually respect because they don't do anything in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, they were a top 5 team. Michigan, they didn't play anybody. I mean, they looked clean. They were supposed to look clean. I mean, they played a nobody team. You're supposed to look clean. If they played Notre Dame, I feel like they would have looked similar or worse because there's no way Michigan's offense is better than Ohio State's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not putting anything against Ohio State. I'm talking about Michigan. I'm concerned with Michigan.
Why are you concerned with Michigan? Because Michigan has always had a quarterback. They've always run a 2-quarterback system. Even last year when they went to the playoff, they was running 2 quarterbacks. So why are you worried this year?
Well, yeah, because I just think that, you know, the fact that you have a sophomore quarterback, he's this 5-star talent coming out of high school, and he's shown flashes of having the potential of being the starting quarterback. But then you have what's his face, McNamara, who got
Yeah.
named the starter in week 1. The more that Jim Harbaugh plays around with this idea of, oh, I haven't named a starter yet, I'm not sure who I'm going with. Well, we get into week 3, we get into week 4, the team split because there's certain receivers that get more targets from one quarterback, and then there might be 1 or 2 other receivers that get more targets from another quarterback, and it's going to cause division within the team. So that's my red flag with Michigan. Now, obviously, they made the playoff last year. I'm not taking anything away from that. They had an amazing year. But what was Michigan outside of last year? They've been known to choke. They've been known to blow games that they were favored in. So the more that this QB battle goes on for,
the only team that they struggle with is Ohio State.
No, they struggle with Michigan State. They lost to Michigan State last year.
They win 10 games
that they were.
Yeah, but they won't have to worry about. They won't. They're scared. I mean, they play Hawaii, Connecticut, Maryland, and then they play Iowa, Indiana. Then you get into Penn State, Michigan State.
They've also in years past they've struggled with Wisconsin.
They don't play them.
You have them losing 4 games though. I would be.
I'm saying
4 games you have them losing.
I'm seeing the 9-4 to 10-3 year for Michigan. I think they're taking a little bit of a down step this year.
That means you have to think they lose to Ohio State there at the end of the year. That has to be one of the losses.
I just don't see 3 losses on that.
You gotta go. You either go Michigan State or Penn State, or they have to go to Iowa.
I think they lose. Are they on the road against Michigan State or Penn State?
I think they host Michigan State and they host Penn State.
Yeah, no way. Yeah, there's no way they're losing. No, bro, they're not losing those. Because, like I said, they've always ran a 2-quarterback system, so I don't see how it's going to divide the locker room when it didn't divide it last year. I mean, it's the same 2 quarterbacks. I don't understand.
But McNamara was the clear starter last year. It wasn't like they were giving him split reps.
They was giving split reps. Did you watch Michigan games? They were always
McNamara had most of the reps last year, but they did put in the freshman quarterback a few times. Yeah, it was 70-30, but now they're completely choosing another quarterback to start for a new game. That's different. They had McNamara starting every single game last year. They weren't going back and forth each game. When you're doing that, that's gonna cause a lot of questions in the locker room. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty in the locker room between the players. So that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, I think.
And they're not going to be as good as they were last year. Let's get that straight.
Why not?
They're not going to be as good as last year. They're not going to be a bad team, but they're not going to be as good as they were last year. That's all I'm saying.
We'll see about Michigan later on in the year and how they stand up. I think they'll be fine. But this all stems from that Notre Dame-Ohio State matchup. And I think that Notre Dame will have a chance to prove themselves. I think they play Clemson later in the year, and then they play USC to end the year. So we'll be able to see if Notre Dame is really can compete really well this year or not. Another ranked matchup we had was the Georgia-Oregon game. That was a game people were looking forward to. They wanted the Pac-12 to show good, to beat one of the SEC teams. Both of them lost. But first, Georgia and Oregon, I mean, what was y'all's takeaway from that game?
You brought up the Pac-12 want to look good. They did not. They did not. Both their Pac-12 versus SEC matchups didn't go their way. But obviously the Florida-Utah game was a different story because it went down to the wire. But this Georgia-Oregon game, man, I'm going to go ahead and make fun of myself because I was higher on Oregon than I should have been because I don't know why, but I must have forgot that Bo Nix is Bo Nix, and he's not going to be better just because he's wearing shiny green new uniforms. He's still that wrapped up piece of trash from Auburn. So, I mean, he goes to Oregon. I think he's going to have a better year because he's not playing as many SEC defenses, which I know it's week 1. He played an SEC defense, but he did not look any different than what we remembered. Like, he didn't develop at all throughout this offseason from what we can tell from week 1. Just bad reads, leaving the pocket too early, just throwing it right into the defender's hands, man. I mean, it's just like he stares down receivers, and that's just easy pick'ems for Georgia's defense. And so that Oregon game, it was slaughter. I liked how Georgia looked. Stetson Bennett, it's his first. He went through his first offseason knowing he's a QB1 because he's already had his hero year. So he's playing a little bit more loose this year. Georgia's obviously got those 2 tight ends. They're both going to be first-round picks when they come out. But their offensive line's a little depleted. The receivers are going to be interesting to watch, and they got some new running backs with the loss of James Cook and Zamir White. So Georgia, but Georgia as a whole, just curb stomped Oregon, and it was not a fun game to watch, to be honest, because that game was over by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, I agree. Going into it, there was all this hype around Bo Nix being in a new situation, and I figured he would make some progressions in his reads, make some progressions in his passing game, but we didn't see any of that. Like Oregon was out of the game by the end of the first quarter. And that's what kind of sucked about it, because I was looking forward to this matchup. But you got to give credit to Georgia, though. Their front seven on defense looked phenomenal. The secondary, they're the typical Georgia defense that we know, that we've known for the past few years. They're going to step up. They're going to make plays. They're going to make the quarterback uncomfortable on the other side of the ball. Stetson Bennett, that was the most yards he's passed for in his whole entire career, starting with Georgia. 368 passing yards, and I believe he had two passing touchdowns and another rushing touchdown. And when you get Stetson Bennett playing as confident as he was in that Oregon game, and then everything clicking on defense and the run game's going, I mean, it's impossible for hardly anybody outside of maybe Bama or Ohio State or Clemson to be able to keep up with them when they're playing that good on all facets. So they just outmatched Oregon in every facet of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you went back and watched the game, Oregon, their first three drives were driving on Georgia pretty efficiently. And two out of those three ended up in turnovers. When they were on the other side of the 50-yard line. And then one of them, they just had a bad call on a 3rd and 3. I thought they should have went with a different call to convert that first down and ended up punting. But like I said, two of those drives ended up in interceptions from Bo Nix, which were back-to-back, like we were talking about. But Oregon looked promising throughout maybe that first half of that first quarter towards the end of it. But whenever Georgia would get stops, they would capitalize because Georgia's starting offense was on the field 7 drives and scored 7 toucmounts.
Yeah,
like that's literally 100% efficiency.
That's why I wanted to say I was more surprised. I mean, more disappointed in how bad as bad as Bo Nix was. I think Oregon's defense was the worst part of Oregon this past Saturday. Like you said, Oregon was able to move the ball a little bit on Georgia, which you think from a Georgia defense they wouldn't be able to cross the 50-yard line, but they were able to drive on them. It's just they made timely mistakes and it snowballed, and their defense could not get a stop whatsoever. So Oregon did not show up well for the Pac-12. Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, Georgia. I think Georgia's going to be even better than they was last year. I don't think the defense is going to be as good, but I think now the offense is looking like it's a little bit more fluent. Yeah, it's just more fluent. They don't really have. Most years they have that back that we know of starting the season. We really don't know who the great back is going to be this year. But I mean, the way Stetson's throwing, I mean, if he doesn't have to throw for 300 yards every game, but if he's confident in the pocket like that, it's gonna be them in Bama again. I mean, that's just the way I see it. Just overall complete, just the overall great performance. I think Oregon. It wasn't really about Oregon being bad. I just think they just ran up against a gauntlet in Georgia. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to touch on the point that Noah brought up about the first 7 drives of the game. Georgia was ultra efficient. They had touchdowns on every single drive, where they wound up scoring on every single drive. And last year, a knock that some people had was that Georgia benefits off their defense. But in this game against Oregon, on average, every single one of their scoring drives were 75 yards. So there's really, you can't make any excuses for them, playing off of their defense. But in that week 1 matchup against Oregon, that offense was efficient, and they were able to string together some long drives. And that was a big takeaway I had.
I know y'all may not want to hear this, but I mean,
I agree.
If we talking Heisman, we're gonna have to talk about Stetson Bennett.
No, you're right based off production, and he did have
I don't know why Eli's shaking his head, because I mean, hey, if Stetson Bennett is able to be efficient like that, he's gonna be in there, because like I said, I don't think that Georgia's running game is gonna be as dominant as it was in past years. They don't have that great back this year, so he's gonna be throwing around more. And they don't have a tough schedule. I don't see anybody on their schedule that's going to stop them from doing what he just did. I don't.
Yeah, I really think really the only two games on Georgia's schedule that I think teams might have a chance to compete is Tennessee and Florida. But no, I'm not shaking my head due to the fact that, you mentioned that Stetson Bennett deserves Heisman consideration off of week 1, but there's still a lot of football left. And I know the Stetson Bennett I saw last year, who he was a game manager, but I did see a lot of improvement from him in this week 1 matchup. And that was one thing that I do want to highlight. I want to give credit to Stetson Bennett. He looks like he's been putting in the time. He's been putting in the work. And Oregon's defense isn't a knockoff defense. They have several NFL prospects on that defense. So Georgia looking really scary after that week 1 performance that they had in Atlanta this past weekend. But the next game I wanted to kind of get into and touch on is Utah and Florida. This is this might have been maybe the game of the week. Bunch of people coming in. Utah obviously coming off the Rose Bowl appearance, and they've got a lot of hype and promise going into this year. What were some takeaways that you guys had from that Florida and Utah game?
Everyone's been hearing the talk about Anthony Richardson, or AKA AR-15, going into this new season. But we've heard hype about these Florida quarterbacks before, and they ended up not really being much. But this guy, based on this one game now, he looks like he's a real deal. And he kind of put the team on his back later on in that game, making some plays with his feet and his arm. We all saw that 2-point or that touchdown he threw where he faked the pass in the air, spun around the tackle, and then threw it to the guy just standing there by himself in the end zone.
Yeah, the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, the 2-point conversion. But I really liked how Florida looked. They're in a new head coach, Billy Napier. He's one of those guys that's from the Saban tree. Saban tree is just like a tree of life, pretty much. It just goes everywhere. It's just huge. So like pretty much any team, any D1 team, you can find somebody who used to coach under Saban. Mm-hmm. But Billy Napier, he's going to bring these guys to the next level. Florida is a team that they're unranked, still going into week 2. But I don't think that's going to last much longer. Like the way they looked in the Utah game, that was a big win for Billy Napier, getting his first win under his belt at Florida, knocking off a top 10 team like that. I really like how Florida looked.
Yeah, I think I'm not ready completely on the bandwagon, but as far as him as an athlete, I mean, Anthony Richardson looks elite. Like he's got the speed, he can make people miss an open field, and his arm strength, he got a cannon. So he has a chance to elevate himself into that Heisman type category if he keeps having performances like these. And he'll shoot up the draft board if he can clean up his throwing mechanics. Florida has a chance to upset some good teams this year, but it's going to be tough because the only thing they have going for them that we know of is Anthony Richardson. Utah was able to compete, though. So I think that'll probably be the Pac-12's only hope as far as trying to get to a playoff or anything like that. Maybe them, maybe USC, but I think their most strong hope is going to be Utah because they didn't completely lay an egg. But yeah, I got to share the same sentiment when it comes to Anthony Richardson. I mean, I like the kid.
Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we got to hold out on the Richardson train. I think we got to slow down a little bit because it was week 1, and people overreact when the guy has a good week, and I'm not sure that he's going to be able to. I'm not sure about the rest of his roster, all right, and I don't know if he's going to be able.
I agree.
I can't see him doing this against Georgia. I got to hold up. I got to slow down the train a little bit. He looked great in that game. I do think he can be a draft prospect, but I think we need to slow down the hype train because it's a long season in the SEC, and we know how 1 or 2 games can kind of turn around the whole season. And I'm not quite sold yet on
I think his legs.
Florida.
I agree with you, but you can't deny his athletic ability though. Like with his legs, he's a threat with his legs.
He has all the. If he gets more polished, as you said, he has all the capabilities to be a great NFL quarterback. I'm not sold on Florida as a team. I don't think he has enough around him to be able to compete against Georgia. I think Georgia would slaughter them still. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I
think Utah. I mean, they were right there in the end. I mean, Cam Rising threw the pick. I mean, at the 10-yard line. But I mean, if that happens, I mean, we're not even talking about Wilson as much as I think that we are with the Florida win.
I think even if they lose that game, people are still talking about Richardson because he's the first quarterback since Tim Tebow to have over 100+ passing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in one game. I mean, I think when he stepped on the field, he was the best player on the field every time that he stepped foot onto the field. So the talent, the potential, it's all there. And I disagree with you on the point that, you're not hopping on the Richardson train. I'm all on the Richardson train. In fact, I think if
After one game?
Yeah, because he just beat a top 10 team in the country. He just competed and absolutely controlled the game every snap that he was on the field against a Utah team.
How do we not know that Utah's not overrated?
Because they made the Rose Bowl last year and they went 11-2 or 12-2 last year. They're a good team.
That they're not overrated this season?
Because
this is a new year.
I know, but most of their pieces from last year are returning.
Yes.
Same starting quarterback, same starting tight end, most of their wide receiver core. Their starting running back, who had 1,100 rushing yards, is back this year. And yes, they did lose a middle linebacker or an outside linebacker to the draft last season, but most of their defense is back too. So that's why.
Okay. Well, I need you to keep that same energy with Michigan because Michigan returned just about all their players, and you did not have the same sentiments towards them. But I'll digress on that, and we can.
I just don't think Michigan's going to do as good as they did last year.
But you do with Utah. See, that doesn't make sense. Both teams brought most of their players back, but one team is going to do the same thing, but the other one can't.
Well, Ohio State's in the Big Ten.
They're both top 10 teams.
Utah has nobody. Utah hardly has nobody outside of a first-year head coach and Caleb Williams. So that's why I have more confidence in Utah being able to win their conference.
How are you bringing up Caleb Williams?
Michigan has to deal with Ohio State, and then on top of that, Michigan State
they're better than everybody else.
and Penn State, and they've had problems with Penn State and Michigan State in the past.
Who's Penn State have? You're buying stock in the Penn State?
Sean Clifford. They have Sean
Clifford.
He had a good game against Purdue. He led the team down like 80 or 90 yards for the game-winning drive.
I'm sorry. Who does Purdue have?
They won the game by 4 points, but he led the team on a game-winning drive with less than 2 minutes left and went 80 yards and scored a touchdown.
So we're buying stock in Sean Clifford. We go take that man serious.
I'm
with
saying
all due respect,
he's a good quarterback, is he not?
I think he's very mid.
Anyway,
I don't.
Look, besides the point, Anthony Richardson balled out, and I think
I agree.
He balled out, and we have to give him his respect. And I think him alone running that offense gives Florida an opportunity to compete in the SEC East. I don't think that means that they're going to win the SEC East, but he gives them a chance to potentially knock off a Tennessee or Georgia.
You got to be talking about Georgia because that's the only.
That's the only team that's the top dog.
When you say competing,
I say Tennessee because I do think Tennessee is taking a step up this year, and they're another team to worry about. That's one of the only games that I think that's one of the only teams on Georgia's schedule that they might have to potentially, keep their eyes crossed and be 10 toes down about. Most of these other games they can just cupcake walk through, but Tennessee is actually they've got some talent and they've got some players on that team that could pose a threat to Georgia.
And Tennessee moved the ball on them last year. They just weren't able to finish their drives. But Tennessee was running a lot of hurry up. And they were able to move the ball on them, but they just couldn't finish it. Georgia defense ended up being too much.
Yeah, and anytime there's someone in the SEC East that can compete with Georgia, I get excited because I hate seeing Georgia having cakewalks year in and year out. So I like seeing that Tennessee's taking a step to get back to being a respectable team. Kentucky, they have a solid team, and now Florida with Anthony Richardson and Billy Napier. So I like how these three teams are starting to step up and realize that they can't just let Georgia run through them easily every year. So I really like how the SEC East is trending with those three teams.
I mean, Georgia still might win through.
Oh no! I mean, Georgia's still king.
I personally, this is coming from a Bama fan. I think Georgia should be ranked number 1 in the country right now. That's just me, though.
I agree.
I think if you're just going based off week 1, I think they should be ranked number 1 based off what we've seen.
You can definitely make that case. Alabama still had a solid outing, and they're currently the number 1. So it's 50. I mean, yeah, I mean they blew out a Utah State team. Obviously, that's not Oregon, but they did shut them out. in the first game of the year. So, I mean, it's really give or take. It depends on who you ask with that. But I think definitely after week one, Alabama and Georgia are the top two teams in college football as of right now.
But I think Ohio State moves down to 3 and Georgia moves up to 2.
Yeah, I would
definitely.
Fair with me. I think Georgia and Alabama are kind of interchangeable, really. So, but yeah, getting into this next matchup, and this was pretty much 1A and 1B. The next matchup, this is probably maybe the most entertaining game of the weekend. It was Florida State and LSU. This is a crazy game. I don't know if you guys got to catch this. I was able to watch it Sunday night.
Oh yeah.
What were some of the biggest takeaways off of this game for you guys? And Brian Kelly's first game coaching for LSU.
Mine was the LSU players' effort, especially towards the end of the game. It was non-existent, especially on the offensive line side. They had 2 field goals blocked in that game. You know, like it's a rare occasion for just one of those to get blocked. When you have 2 happen to the same team in the same game, there's issues with that. And if you go back and watch the blocked field goal at the very end, or the blocked extra point at the very end, the guy who was supposed to be sealing that inside, he basically just gave him like a little one-arm shove and then tried to get the guy on the outside. And the inside guy just walked in unblocked pretty much. He got an easy block on the kick. So, I mean, you hate seeing effort like that. What I thought was funny is at the end of the game, the FSU players went up to the LSU student section and was clowning them how LSU's players did to Alabama's student section a few years back whenever Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Jay Jettas came to town. But they didn't like a little taste of their own medicine, but I liked seeing that. It was funny.
I mean, it was a great game. Probably the best game of the weekend. I was pretty impressed with Florida's quarterback. I forget his name at the moment. I can pull it up, but he played pretty good. Stayed in there when he had pressure under him. I had it pulled up, but I got so many tabs open. I'm talking about Jordan Travis. Yeah.
Jordan Travis.
And the receiver, number 80, he had a great game too. Wilson. I don't want to try to mispronounce his first name, but he had a nice one-hand catch and quarterback delivered the ball. So I was pretty impressed with them. But that, you got to admit, that was clutch from LSU's on a 99-yard drive. And it's just bad. I think it was pretty bad coaching on both sides, to be honest. I mean, you're running a toss down there. There's no point in running throwing the ball backwards.
Yeah,
you could just
a pitch on the 1-yard line, whatever.
It's been silly. And then Brian Kelly didn't manage that well either going into it. So it was just all bad, but it ended up being exciting for us. And that was a clutch drive by LSU's quarterback, who is kind of struggling. He's really small. He's been running for his life all game. But the receiver everyone was looking forward to, Butte, I mean, he had a lackluster game. Had about 20 yards, 2 receptions. People were expecting them to be the number one option for him to carry this offense, but I wasn't too impressed with what I seen at him. So many say that he had a touchdown thrown right into his arms. And if he would have just been paying attention, he could have had a free touchdown. That could have changed the flow of the game. But it was a great game start to finish. It's heartbreaking to lose like that. I can't lie. I was rooting for my SEC brethren in LSU, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's funny because if LSU would have actually wound up winning that game, the SEC would have went 15-0 this week. They were cleaning everybody that they were going against, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the point that both coaches didn't do that good of a job of managing the game. Florida State prevent defense was very questionable. It didn't seem like they were keeping anybody from trying to stay in bounds. They left the sidelines wide open for LSU to be able to do an out route and not have to use their timeouts, because LSU started the drive at the 2-yard line on that final drive and only had 2 timeouts with like barely over a minute left to go in the game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, some of my biggest takeaways, like the Arizona State quarterback transfer that is the starting QB for LSU now, Jalen Daniels. If it wasn't for that last drive, he was really shaky throughout this whole entire game, excluding that last drive where he was able to add on a ton of garbage time yards against a prevent defense. He only had about 150, 160 passing yards on, 25 plus passing attempts. So he didn't play that good of a game. He barely managed to get over 200 yards passing for the game. Florida State for the majority of the game was outplaying LSU. And really, if it wasn't for that fumble inside the red zone of LSU, we wouldn't even be talking about a block extra point to put it into overtime. Like, if Jordan Travis would have taken care of the ball, Florida State would have probably won this game by double digits, either 27-17 or 31-17. But I still got to give props to Florida State, though. The defense, they were making some really good open field tackles. The front seven was playing pretty good. Obviously, they didn't close it out the way they would have liked to. Some adjustments that they definitely have to make on the defensive side of the ball, especially in crunch time. But all in all, though, Wilson had he had 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards receiving for Florida State as well. That's another player I wanted to highlight for Florida State. And Jordan Travis played a really good game. So got to give my props to the Seminoles. They've been kind of struggling these past few years, and to get a season opening win against an SEC opponent, that's big time for their program. What do you think about that, JP?
Yeah, it was just a crazy game. I mean, LSU, you got the 2 muff punts. Butte doesn't turn around for the touchdown. You got the blocked extra point. You got the blocked field goal. The offensive lineman don't like they want to block. I mean, the center throws it past Jaden when he like sideways, and it's like literally like no reason for that to happen. So I mean, there was so many mistakes. I mean, I looked at both teams where they could have had a chance to really beat the other one by the double digits.
Yeah.
Like Eli was saying, Jaden Daniels was very inconsistent, but he's always been that way, even going back to Arizona State. So I knew he was going to be a little shaky. But I mean, it was just a battle of who was going to just make less mistakes at some point. I mean, it was just so much going wrong. But I think Brian Kelly will still do a fine job. I mean, he's won, everywhere he's been. So I think once he just has time to develop the system or whatever, I think he'll be fine. But it was not a good showing week 1. Not at all. Terrible.
Yeah, and I think it's going to take time for Brian Kelly. I think this year they might have 4 to 5 losses, just because it's his first year and he's still getting acclimated to the SEC and it's a whole new environment. But time will tell. I mean, Brian Kelly did a really good job in his time with Notre Dame, so we'll have to wait and see if he can make that adjustment and take that next step in the SEC. It's a whole different ball game being in the SEC compared to being an independent team with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing too about like the the death threats and stuff like that. I seen Butte had to delete all this stuff off Instagram and all that stuff. I don't like it when fans do that. I mean, I know everybody wants their team to win and stuff like that, but I don't think it's ever that serious to the point to where you have to send a kicker or a wide receiver that dropped the ball or whatever the case may be. It's never that deep to the point where I feel like a player him or his family should be getting death threats. I just want to say that.
We agree.
Yeah, and between the 2 muff punts and the half block or the 2 block field goals where the guy on the left end was just half blocking the dude, it let him come in there unblocked. Seems like Brian Kelly needs to focus on his special teams more than working on his fake Southern accent and dancing with recruits and his social media platforms. So I think that's what Brian Kelly needs to work on the most going into week 2.
That's a good point. I like that, Noah. And wrapping up week 1, Clemson and Georgia Tech. I don't know if that game's finished yet. At the time we're recording this, Labor Day. So Clemson and Georgia Tech were playing tonight. Do any of y'all have the final score for that?
I think it was 41-10. I think it was 41-10.
So.
I'm not 100% sure though.
Yeah, last I heard, Clemson was kind of running away with it. But it did take them a really long time to, create some separation in that game.
Yeah, I mean, same old thing from last year. DJ might have improved that hairline, but he's obviously not the best option at quarterback, in my opinion, for Clemson. I think if they want to make any real noise, trying to make a playoff run or anything like that, they're going to have to eventually make the QB change to Cade. I think we've seen him towards the end of the game. He looks better. I think it's obvious. Defensive Clemson is always going to look good. So they look like they'll be fine. Just the main problem is going to be the quarterback position. The problem is that Clemson will be able to beat a lot of teams with him at quarterback. So I don't know when the change will happen, but I think if they make the change and they make it fast enough and get Cade some experience, I think they'll be able to compete with anybody in the country.
Yeah, I didn't like how stagnant Clemson came out in that game, especially when you're playing an opponent like Georgia Tech. Like I know they're in the ACC, but they're just not a respectable team that can, they can give give teams threats about actually winning their conference. And so, especially with Clemson being ranked 4, you didn't like how they came out in that game. Yeah, they finished up 41-10, so the score looks nice. But how they looked in the first half, especially, it doesn't really reign true to that scoreboard, if you know what I mean. Like the scoreboard it just looks way better than the actual game went. Which I don't know when they put their backup guy in, but I've been high on him ever since I watched the Clemson spring game where he actually he wheeled and dealed all game, absolutely outplayed DJ. And with how DJ looked last year, he looked very mid. And people say that because of how much hype DJ had, because he was the number one ranked pocket passer, along with Bryce Young being the number one ranked dual threat. So it looked like they were going to be.
I think mid's putting it nicely.
Yeah, like he's just very mid. Like he's not terrible, but he's not going to win you games like he's supposed to, being at that quarterback position in one of the best 5 schools, college football wise, in the nation. So I don't know. I think whenever they make that change, like Destin said, is when they can really take a real leap and actually, look like they can contend for a championship, because how their offense looks with that backup quarterback just looks way more efficient, way more timely. Just it looks way more clean than it looks right now. Because it looks like DJ just second guesses himself a lot. He always checks the ball down. He's never willing to take risks, push the ball downfield. So
yeah, he doesn't trust his reads, it seems like.
Yeah. It looks like he's just not comfortable back there. And their backup, Cade, he just looks like he's just a gunslinger. He's willing to push the ball downfield and take the risk. So I mean, you can live and die by that sometimes, but if you're good at making your reads and trusting them, then you can win some games.
Yeah, we're being a little hard on them, but they did have a freshman right tackle starting who got beat a couple times. So the offensive line got to shore up. They weren't the best thing about the team last year. So if they shore the offensive line up, I think that all they have to do is make the quarterback change, and they'll be able to compete with anybody.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that y'all said. I mean, we can all agree that the backup looks better. Their defense is always solid. That's never their problem. I am worried about their receiving core too. That was a big question mark for them. They got to get that showed up, but I do like the running back, Shipley. They just got to make sure that, once they do make the quarterback change, they got to see who their wide receiver one is going to be, because I'm not sure who it is at this point.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think y'all hit the nail on the head. I don't necessarily. I'm not a big fan of DJ. I think the offensive line too is another big concern. I think that's just as big of a concern as DJ is starting quarterback, and then the wide receiver core too, like Jalen touched upon, and that's part of the reason why I didn't pick Clemson preseason to win the ACC. But we'll have to wait and see if they do make that quarterback change. I think that changes the landscape, and I think that can potentially turn that team around for the better. But yeah. And then Auburn and Mercer, we'll touch up on that game really quick. Takeaways from that you guys have. I know not
TJ Finley. TJ Finley, man. I mean, AKA, this is my personal nickname for him. I call him a statue because he's about 6'7", he can't move. So I mean, especially in that pocket, man, he doesn't even move his feet. He's just a sitting duck, and he threw two picks against Mercer. So I mean, on a team like Auburn, where you're going to go up against Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU, year in and year out without fail, you can't have mistakes like that against these cupcake teams. And he ends up getting benched in the game, and they put in Robbie Ashford, and Robbie Ashford looked pretty solid. But TJ Finley, that's just, you can't make those mistakes against cupcake teams, especially whenever you're kind of somewhat in a quarterback battle. And I just don't think with TJ Finley running that offense that Auburn can make any noise, or even to me, that's 5 losses from the way Auburn looked yesterday.
Yeah.
That to me, that's 5 losses off the rip on their schedule, based on how they looked against Mercer. I mean, they got to figure out that offense. Tank Bigsby, I mean, he's solid. He's going to be Tank. Everyone knows he's him. So they might have to run their offense through him if they can't figure out their quarterback situation. But
yeah,
I don't like TJ.
I think best case scenario, Auburn goes 7-5. There's just so many questions around the offense. Still, the defense is iffy at times. I know they played good against Alabama, and they have maybe a few other games where they play good at. But I remember when we were doing the start, bench, and cut video on the Auburn quarterbacks, I had Robbie Ashford over TJ Finley. And I I wasn't convinced around all the offseason hype around Finley until I actually saw it with my own eyes. And now we see he got benched for Ashford. So I'm not surprised by that. In the offseason, I would much rather take Ashford over Finley just because of the ceiling. I don't think Finley's ceiling is as near as high as Ashford's ceiling. And I think his floor is way lower than Robbie Ashford's floor. So, but yeah, I mean, Auburn, they took care of business, but that was a bit of a concern for Auburn was how good or how much improvement has TJ Finley made over the offseason. And I wasn't convinced that, based off of what I saw last year, that Finley was going to do much more because he's already he's a senior this year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I believe he's a senior or he's a redshirt junior, but he's been in college football for a really long time. And he hasn't really shown, big leaps of improvement at all. So I like the decision for Auburn to put in Ashford. I think that was the right move. And hopefully moving forward, I think it's in Auburn's best interest to keep Ashford as the starting quarterback. I don't know what happened to Zach Calzada. He must have just completely fallen off this offseason. Because I remember he was. Yeah, I thought he was going to be the starting quarterback when he first transferred from Texas A&M, but apparently, I guess he's having a really tough time down there. So I think you got to ride with Ashford. I would take Ashford all day over TJ Finley after what I saw from him in person and in that Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah, I think you brought up Finley's ceiling and floor. I think he's already reached his ceiling. I think we've already seen it. I don't think he can really get much better than he is right now.
That's terrible, dude.
I mean, you hate to say that, but it's like, to me, in my opinion, it's true. I have not seen I've seen he has good moments, then he has a lot of mid moments, and he just is a sitting duck in the pocket. And if you don't have a All-American offensive line, that's not going to bode well, especially in the SEC, facing defenses like Georgia and Alabama every year. So, and like you brought up Calzada, I don't know what happened to him. I thought he was on track to be the starter. They brought him in from Texas A&M for a reason. But I don't know. I guess he's third on the depth chart because they wasn't even the one they sent in the game whenever they benched TJ Finley, which I don't know. There might be some injury reason there. I haven't really looked into that. So, but yeah, I think Robbie Ashford's the play moving on for Auburn.
He must have dropped off the face of the earth because I have not heard a drop from Zach Calzada and his camp on his position when it comes to the Auburn starting job. But at least we'll get into App State and UNC. This is a game that, App State, they've been known in the past to knock off these Power 5 teams. They did it to Michigan almost a decade ago, probably a little more over a decade ago. And now this past weekend, they almost were able to knock off UNC. It was 63-61 UNC. What do you guys take away from that game, and what were some of you guys' reaction?
This looked like an old-fashioned Big 12 game from back in the day. Remember those Big 12 games where nobody played defense?
Nobody's
them Red River showdowns or something like that.
Yeah, and the Pac-12. Let's not forget the early 2010 Pac-12 games. Those games, I mean, some of those games would be like 70-63 on a weekly basis. But go on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, it wasn't nothing. I mean, it's just bad defense. I think from this game, it was exciting to watch. College football. Those were some of the best games to watch where there's no defense played. I was shocked going into it. I know App State is known for challenging some of these Power 5 schools, but I didn't think they would be able to. But I was obviously wrong going into it. I thought North Carolina was going to come in there and take care of business. But they weren't. I mean, they won the game, but you don't ever want to be playing them that close and then allowing a team like App State to put up 61 points on you and winning off a failed 2-point conversion. Like, that's just not something you should be proud of. But I will say I was impressed with May, the quarterback of North Carolina. He looked like he played pretty good. We'll see how good he is later on when he gets to play different competition later on in the season. But that's probably my biggest takeaway from that matchup.
JP?
Yeah. Carolina got to find some defense. Because that was terrible. I mean, to give up 40 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, Mac Brown shouldn't be hitting any celebration after that.
I was about to say Mac Brown.
He should be talking to the DBs right after.
He just got 60 dropped on his head by Appalachian State, and he's over there dancing in the locker room like they just won the conference championship.
I need Mac to find DBs that he did at Texas because that looked terrible. It's no excuse to give up 40 in the game, let alone a quarter. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and Gene Chiswick's the North Carolina defensive coordinator. So I mean, it's on him too.
I forgot about that. He did get that job.
Gene Chiswick was a defensive coordinator on a national championship team in Texas, and then he went and head coached Auburn for a national championship. And now he's a defensive coordinator in North Carolina and gets 61 hung on his defense by Appalachian State, 40 in one quarter. It's just like you can't have it at any level of football. You can't have it. That's just like unforgivable. Almost losing the game to App State, when they drop 61 on you is just insane. I don't think anyone in the world could have predicted that scoreboard.
Yeah, all I know is Mac Brown don't need to be putting nothing on but his DBs. That's what he needs to be putting on. He doesn't be putting on nothing else but the DB tape. He needs to be putting on that film that they just because that was terrible. He don't need to do
I think if they put us four out there, they'd be the same result. I mean, these are D1 corners doing this.
Yeah, for real.
You put me out there, I'll get 61 hung on me too. It's the same thing.
For real.
I mean, I think it just goes to show just like how sorry the ACC is in general. I mean, man, it's just such a sorry conference. Like the ACC and the Pac-12. Like, what are y'all doing right now? Are y'all they're sleepwalking? They're sleepwalking.
Eli, what you think about ACC
what's
State?
going on with the defense?
Speaking of sleepwalking, I got to bring this up. I'm sorry to do it to you.
No, but I know it's coming.
I watched the highlights of NC State, your favorite to win the ACC, and it took missed field goals, chip shots by the other team's kicker, or your ACC pick would have been down the joint. I mean, because that looked terrible. NC State. Okay, I mean, I understand. I had Oklahoma State. They didn't look good, but
look, if you're gonna come at me like that, your team that you picked for the Big 12 got 44 points dropped on them by an FCS team.
So what?
I consider way worse.
State scored 44. I thought Oklahoma State scored 44. What was the score?
East Carolina. I get it. East Carolina. It was 58-44. But again, it's an FCS team. That's like Alabama giving up 44 points to Georgia Southern.
So you're gonna excuse your team that you picked them in the ACC to win by 1 point off the two missed field goals, chip shot field goals.
I get it. Yeah, they did get lucky off of that. But what I'm saying is that
I agree with you. Oklahoma State did not look good. I actually agree with you on that. I just wanted to bring it up.
I think we both each had our conference championship picks not have a great week one. But what I am saying is NC State's defense is still really good compared to other ACC defenses. Say compared, like we just talked about UNC. We just talked about. So
you feel confident with them against Clemson? You feeling confident about them against Clemson if they make the quarterback change?
Look, if they make the quarterback change, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a very tough matchup. But I'm sticking with my pick. I'm not backing down from my pick. I think the Wolfpack has what it takes. I think they had some week one jitters. Obviously, everybody in a way looks a little shaky in week one. So we'll have to see them make some adjustments. They were up by 21-7 in the beginning of the second half, but then they seemingly offensively forgot how to play offense. So we'll, hopefully they get past those jitters and they're able to straighten up their offense. So, it's just a waiting game, really, but I'll stick by my NC State pick. I'm not backing down from that. But
y'all remember that JP's on the Oklahoma State bandwagon and Eli's on the NC State. So y'all remember that.
That's right.
Hey, all I gotta say, Eli, you got a lot on the line with Baylor BYU next week because that was your favorite. Well, sir.
Really?
It's looking scary hours out here.
Look. Technically, even if Baylor loses that game,
here you go with technically. You're gonna have to be nervous. If they lose to BYU, you're gonna have to be a little nervous. I'm just saying.
I will be a little bit nervous, but what I'm saying is that doesn't affect their standings in the Big 12 though.
I understand
it's not an in-conference game.
If they struggle against BYU, they're not beating Oklahoma or Oklahoma State.
You can't say that for a fact because Oklahoma State struggled against an FCS team. They gave up 50 points to an FCS team.
Okay, that's fine. That's week one jitters, right?
That's fine.
It's week one
jitters. That doesn't raise any red flags.
See, hold on. So it's week one jitters with your team, but then I gotta say my team just played bad. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Your
Because
team
you didn't
gave
say
up 50
I can't say week
points
one
to an
jitters.
FCS team. There's
Week
a
one
big
jitters.
difference.
It was just week one jitters, just like you said with your NC State. Week one jitters. That's all.
Okay, I think East Carolina. I think East Carolina is a way better program than an FCS team. But
And what
that's
are you basing
besides
this
the
off
point.
of?
What?
What do you base East Carolina being better
Because
off of?
they've
You don't
upset
know.
Power 5 teams
Have you
in the
watched tape on
past.
them?
They've upset Power
What
5
pass?
teams in the past.
Who? Exactly. I'm done. Next
I
point.
can't name off the top of my head because
I know you
I'm
can't.
not
You
an
just
East
said
Carolina fan,
was
but
it
I can
true?
look it up.
You brought
No,
up.
don't do that. You should know. You made the
They
statement.
definitely hold on. South Carolina. They did upset South
South
Carolina.
Carolina, when have they been top 5?
I'm
When
not,
has South
bro.
Carolina been a
I
top
never
5
said
team?
South Carolina's the top 5 team. I said they've upset.
You just
Power
said
5.
they beat a top 5 team. Did you not?
I said a Power 5 team.
Y'all, he's walking it back.
No, I did
You
not.
said
I
top
said
5.
Power
Will.
5. They've never upset a top 5 team ever. I said a Power 5 conference team.
Okay.
All right.
I want to make sure I heard top 5.
Y'all brought up
But
Baylor,
we'll
BYU
wait and
earlier.
see. We'll wait and see how.
Yeah, we'll definitely see
how.
So-
I think
so
the
let's get
BYU
into
Baylor
the-
game.
Let's get into the week
I think
two.
that's going to be.
Let's get in.
I think that's going to be interesting. So let's get into some of the week 2 matchups.
Yeah, let's run through these pretty quick too.
So yeah, we'll get through these pretty quickly. Just give me y'all's picks for week 2. First up, Alabama, Texas. Who y'all got?
Bama.
We across the board roll tide, bro.
Time out. Now I remember the podcast a few weeks ago when Destin was.
They can't be
quarterback.
competing.
Oh, hey.
Oh,
I
I
do remember that.
Oh, okay. I
was on the
thought
Texas train. Hey,
No,
we
Texas
got it
hit.
on the real.
No, you can't do this, Destin. No,
What I can't do?
Destin.
Destin.
Hey,
Bro,
Ohio
Bama
State.
is different. Bama's different.
Oh no, you're walking it back.
Hey, look.
I didn't pick Texas against Bama.
You were high on
look
them a couple episodes ago. I remember, and you said you were high on Texas. So
I am.
dude, are you expecting it to be a close game?
I think he
Bama
was
will
high
win
on
by-
Texas in our Big 12 debate. Who's gonna win Big 12?
Yeah. I think this
so
game will
look,
be. I think
if
Bama will win
Texas
by.
is back. If I was just gonna say, if Texas is back, have some
That's
confidence.
what he said.
I
think Texas is back.
They
They ain't back.
They're
Bro,
college
it's
football
Bama,
playoff
bro.
team.
Yeah,
It's
hold
Bama.
on. Let Destin go real quick.
Okay.
All right, Texas is beating Oklahoma.
They win the Big 12.
Probably true.
They back. If they back, they ought to be able to win the Big 12.
Can I
If
get
they
another
back-
week or two? Can I get another week or two?
No, because
Come on,
weeks
bro.
ago you
In the
already said
preseason,
that
we
they
all-
were
Texas,
look,
Texas winning the Big 12. Then.
Yeah. Because look,
Texas will
I'm
win
not-
the Big 12.
Oh Lord.
Jalen made his terrible Big 12 prediction with Oklahoma State, so you got to stick by
Wait,
Texas.
whoa. That doesn't look bad. Nothing. The conference and play has not been started yet.
Texas winning the Big 12. Mark my words. Come back to this episode. Y'all
Okay.
gonna
Oh, we
But-
will. Because
But, all right,
So everybody in
everybody-
here has Alabama. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
everybody
Okay.
for sure got Bama. Yeah.
Okay. I've got Bama too. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. But next matchup, Wake Forest versus Vandy. Who y'all got?
Yeah, Vandy. I'm going Wake Forest.
Me too.
Yeah. See,
I got
this one's interesting because Vanderbilt's offense did look good, but they have not played, any like known teams or anybody worth mentioning. So I'm gonna go with Wake Forest here. I thought about picking an upset on our little college football pick'ems thing we got, but I can't roll the dice because I already picked an upset last week with Oregon and Georgia, and that made me look stupid. So I'm rolling Wake Forest.
When's the last time Vanderbilt beat a ranked team? And I'm not trying to be funny.
I don't know.
That's
a
another
good
question.
question.
That's another point. Like they just don't have the history of upsets, so I just can't pick them.
I can't do it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go with Wake Forest too. I don't have enough confidence off of Vanderbilt beating an FCS team in Hawaii to pick them to upset a top 25 team. So I'm gonna go Wake Forest in that matchup. Next one we got Tennessee and Pittsburgh. Now this is an interesting one because both teams are ranked.
What's Tennessee ranked?
I believe they're 17, and if I'm not mistaken,
Pittsburgh's
Pittsburgh's
17.
Pittsburgh is 17, and Tennessee is unranked as we record, but they probably will be
It
ranked
might
by
be.
by the by when week 2 comes around. But this one's actually pretty close. It's pretty much being 50-50 picked on the app is what the app says.
And it's
I'm rolling with Tennessee just because I think Tennessee they have a solid squad this year. Offense is 10 times better. I'm rolling with Tennessee with the upset.
Yeah, I like Hooker and Tennessee. I've been really high on them since the preseason. I was talking about they were one of my dark horse sleeper teams in the SEC East to potentially make some noise. I think that they win above 10 games this year, so I'm taking Tennessee in that.
If 10 games?
10 games.
I see them going 10-3 or better.
That means we'll worry about that later. If this game was at Tennessee, I pick Tennessee in a heartbeat. But I'm basically 50-50. I'm going to roll with Tennessee because Pittsburgh West Virginia is a decent team, but that game could have went either way. Came down to the last couple plays. So I think Tennessee will be able to go in there and steal one and get a big win, try to help build on that resume. So I'm going with Tennessee.
As Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. Just because all three of y'all did it, I don't trust it. I'm going with Pittsburgh. Give me Pittsburgh. I can't
all right, I like it. I like the Lee Corso reference. Yeah, I like the Lee Corso reference. Let's go.
Give me Pitt. Give me Pitt. I want Pitt. Yeah.
All right, and the next one we got Washington State against Wisconsin. I've got Wisconsin in this one. I just don't.
Yeah.
To me, Washington State's never been a threat, and Wisconsin has at least had, they were decent last year, and they play in a way better conference. So I trust Wisconsin way more than I trust Washington State.
Oh yeah, this
agree.
one should be across the board. Wisconsin,
Washington
State has never been somebody. They probably never will be somebody in college football. So I'm rolling with Wisconsin easily.
Agreed.
I agree too.
Right, and then the next one we got Houston and Texas Tech. Houston's ranked 24th, and I believe Texas Tech is unranked right now. But
I'm going.
Texas Tech is 1-0.
I think Texas Tech quarterback is injured, if I'm not mistaken. So I already had Houston, but I'm definitely going Houston with this, even though I think they got to go to Texas Tech. I got a little more confidence in Houston.
Houston.
Go ahead.
Houston, it's kind of interesting. I'm going with Houston, but with how they looked last week against UTSA, it was almost an upset. So it's interesting. I don't really know anything about Texas Tech. I should have read up on it a little bit more, but I'm rocking with Houston. I don't think they'll get upset by Texas Tech.
Yeah, I kind of have a little bit of bad blood with Houston because I did pick UTSA, and they barely lost in like overtime or double overtime to Houston. But that's not going to sway me from my pick. Houston's a ranked team. They've got some returning pieces coming in this year. And Texas Tech, I just don't have enough confidence in them. So I'm going to take Houston in this matchup.
Yeah. Tyler Show is out for at least 2 weeks. That was Texas Tech's quarterback. So
right, and I think that takes away, and that's the one thing that Texas Tech is banking on is their offense and outscoring teams. So if they don't have that, then that really takes away from their potential to upset a top 25 team. So I'm taking Houston.
Y'all, I got Houston. Give me Tech. I'm on with Tech.
Man,
not so fast, my friend. I'm going with Tech. Mahomes used to play there. I'm going with them. I'm riding with them. I don't know who the backup is, but he's gonna get the job done. Give me Texas Tech.
You got to make your picks like Harlow did on game day. Harlow was
What's popping?
What's the next up?
And the next one, Iowa State and Iowa. I've got Iowa State. Iowa barely beat a nobody team 7-3. Last year.
I was about to bring that up.
Iowa's defense outscored their.
Give me Iowa State. Them boys had to get safety to win the game.
Yeah.
I
got Iowa State. Yeah, I got Iowa State. Iowa's offense got outscored by their defense. Their defense had 2 safeties, and their offense had 1 field goal. So I'm taking Iowa State easily in this matchup.
This is a clean sweep for us, but America got this. Most people got Iowa winning at home, 67%.
Yeah. It's only because they at home. Their offense is terrible. Boy, them boys can't get past the 50. Yeah, I can't do it.
I'm actually glad that y'all have a brain too to pick Iowa State in this because Iowa, the way they looked last week, Eli brought it up. Their defense outscored their offense. I'm like, this is not 1940 anymore where we're running double running back sets, not passing the ball.
That's that Big Ten. That's Big Ten.
Yeah, like if they're going to try to beat
these
anybody,
the teams that Michigan got to play now. These the teams that Michigan got to see. I'm just saying.
No, but like,
and I know that.
Anybody in college
just saying.
I didn't say I was going to beat Michigan though.
You got Michigan losing 4 games. You got Michigan losing 4 games.
I got them
Noah
losing
finished.
3 to 4 games.
Okay.
Say what you said, Noah.
I was saying if Iowa was going to try to beat anybody like in college football or even just the Big Ten, they're going to have to learn how to pass the ball. It's not 1940
They got no
anymore.
passing game, bro.
It's not
Zero.
1940 anymore running I formation every down, 3rd and 10 or whatever. They're still going to run the ball. They're not passing. Like they beat South Dakota State 7-3, and it took 2 safeties to not have that game going to overtime.
Oh,
But they over there looking like Army and Navy.
Hey, don't even get me started on Navy, bro. They're terrible.
the boys running the ball on 3rd and 10. That's
3rd and 10 running the ball. And like it's ridiculous. Like there's no excuse for that. Iowa's never going to beat anybody if they keep their offense like this. Like they barely beat South Dakota State. They're not.
So we all get Iowa State. Point.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to. I
End of
mean, my
discussion.
God, Iowa can't score.
Yeah, I've got Iowa State. And then next one, this is a way better one. Florida and Kentucky.
Uh-oh.
I think it's in the swamp too.
This is probably this is probably the 2 best SEC East quarterbacks dueling it out against each other between Will Levis and Anthony Richardson.
Whoa.
Because Levis didn't have a good week this week to me.
Wait, what about
Stetson Bennett? Hey, y'all better put some respect on Stetson.
That's what I say. Like, I'm not leaving out Hooker, but I'm saying this is probably the best, like 2 of the best quarterbacks in the SEC East doing it out against each other.
Y'all rank these 4 quarterbacks pretty quick. We got Hooker, Bennett, Levis, and Richardson.
Based off week 1?
Give me Bennett. He's a winner.
If we're basing it off just week 1, then yeah, Stetson Bennett's 1.
Not week 1. Who do you think's the best quarterback? Who would you rather start for you?
Anthony Richardson. And then I'd probably go Hooker, then Levis, then Bennett.
He'll take.
That's how they probably going to
get.
That's a W take.
If you switch Levis and Hooker, that's probably how they're going to get drafted.
I think Bennett.
Yeah, I'm saying I was saying 2 of the best quarterbacks in the SEC East doing it out between Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. I've got Florida in this matchup, even though they're not ranked yet. Kentucky is ranked 20, but it's at the Swamp. Anthony Richardson's coming off that big game he had against Utah. He's got the team on his back. He's got the whole country watching him now since he made a name for himself. So, I think Florida backs it up, and they're gonna take this game.
I second that. I didn't like what I seen out of him this week. I expect better out of him. Kentucky struggled for like the first half of that game. It was tripping. But I got Florida at home. I think Richardson will start building a little bit of that Heisman. Like, I don't know if he's going to New York, but I think he'll start building. He's beating 2 ranked teams back to back. So I think he'll have another big game, and I think Florida is still the game.
Yeah, give me Florida, man. I'm all on the Richardson train. I'm on the Heisman train, man. I think Richardson.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
no, I
think
Richardson has the potential to put himself in the Heisman race, and not only that, but jump himself up into the discussion of top quarterbacks taken in the 2023 draft class when it comes to the quarterbacks. So Richardson, he clearly proved every time he was on the field, he was the best player on the field. And with his talent and his potential, I think he's only going to build up upon his success that he had in week 1 against Utah. So give me Florida, especially if it's in the Swamp. I think it's going to be jumping in there down in Gainesville. So I'm taking Florida.
Y'all all took Florida. Give me Kentucky.
Bro.
Give me Kentucky. I think Richardson is getting too much credit too fast. And y'all gonna be off the train in a couple of weeks. That's how I feel about it.
So you're taking the quarterback that puts mayonnaise in his coffee?
Yes.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That's nasty. I
don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
You can't trust somebody that likes mayonnaise.
No, I'm not trusting. I'm not trusting him. I just trust Stoops more than Napier.
Which I respect that. I'm not mad at that. Napier
knocked off a top 10 team in his first. Yeah, Napier knocked off a top 10 team in his first ever game coaching.
That game could have went either way.
I'm really high on Napier. I want to make one more point.
Can somebody look up?
Hold on.
I wanted to make one more point to what Eli said earlier about Anthony Richardson coming up the draft board. It's not a terrible take because he's already on McShay and Kuiper's big board as he's the top 3 quarterback. And even on McShay's, they have him being drafted over Bryce Young just because of the size and the upside factor. that Anthony Richardson has. So we're not the only ones high on Anthony Richardson off of one game. I'm just saying. So
okay,
Y'all, okay.
I understand with the draft, but for me to draft and then what's going on in college is way different for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of football to be played.
Bennett might be better in college, but he might not be good for the NFL. You see what I'm saying? Just because experience and so I understand the draft thing. I agree with you, but as far as college only, I just think this week Richardson's going to play good again, and he'll be able to put himself in that conversation. But I don't know if it's going to be sustainable throughout the year.
I think it is. I think what he showed in week 1, you can't teach you cannot teach anybody the stuff that he was doing against that Utah team.
The fact that y'all are so ready to hop on this wave scares me a little bit. But
that's that. Yeah, it's
I really like.
I
really like.
Look,
it, man.
I'm going off the eye value. I'm going off of what I watched, what I saw, and the
He
stuff
passed
he's
the eye
doing.
test for sure.
You cannot teach. There's a lot of that stuff that you cannot teach. The athleticism, the arm strength. You cannot teach that type of stuff, and that's stuff that NFL scouts love.
Eli, where was he ranked that on your list before that game?
I mean, it was still up in the air because we were waiting to see how much progression he made over the offseason. But there's
Where
always
was he at?
was
he a top 5 quarterback in the SEC before that game for you?
It was a toss-up. I mean, we have to wait and see because he's a junior, but last year was the first time we got to see his first reps at Florida. So you can't really make that argument like you're saying, like, where did you have him ranked before the season started?
Why can't I ask that? Why can't I ask that question? That's a good question.
Like, we all know going into the season, he has the potential to be great, but we just haven't seen it yet because he was young and he hasn't had that many reps.
Who was your top quarterbacks before the season?
That would be like me asking you. No, that would be like me asking you after week 1 or week 2. Can I finish?
Yes.
So that would be like me asking you after week 1 or week 2 of the 2020 season, did you have Mac Jones being the top quarterback in the SEC?
And I would answer. I would say yes or no. I would say yes, I did, or no, I didn't. You know, you didn't even have your top 5 SEC quarterbacks before the season, and now you want to jump him to 1.
I did
over one game.
I'm not jumping
to Utah.
I didn't jump him to number 1. I never said that. I'm saying I did have him as the top 5 quarterback in the SEC before the season started.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Okay. But I don't want you to. Why couldn't you just say that from the start?
Y'all see these guys be Jalen and Eli got a little rivalry going on.
I just wanted to know, was he a top 5 guy? I just want to know how high did he jump for? I want to know how big of a jump he made over 1 week. That's all I want to know. That's why I asked the question. That's all.
But I think right now,
he jumped for me probably about 6'5" to range to like.
See, that's too high after 1 game. See, I think that's crazy to do after 1 game. But that's just me. That's my opinion.
He passed my eye test.
He jumped 6 spots. Oh,
no. From like 5 or 6 to like 2 or 3.
That's still a big jump, bro.
Spencer Rattler dropped. That's not a crazy jump considering he did that against a top 10 team who made the Rose Bowl last year.
You keep talking about last year.
It's because he was high on Utah.
I'm saying because Utah, I'm high on Utah, and I had
you were high on Utah. You were the highest one on Utah,
and you did too. You had Utah winning the Pac-12 too,
and I still do. But you had them being a playoff team. Did you not?
I said they're a dark horse contender to make the playoff. That's what I said. I didn't.
How is that looking now?
Do you?
Okay, are they?
That's on record. You can go back. It's on record. It's on record. I said they're a dark horse to compete and make the college football playoff. That's what I said. I didn't say they were going to absolutely make the playoff.
All I'm saying is you were the only one that had that take. You were the only one that thought that. Nobody else was high on Utah. I said they would win the Pac-12, and I still do.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're a playoff team. So to me, they were overrated. So I had Florida win the game before the game started. So I was not high on Utah.
I don't know if they're overrated because I don't have them making the college football playoff unless they're able to win out and just do it convincingly. But but I do have them winning the Pac-12. We'll have to wait and see.
I agree with you. I still have them winning the Pac-12 too.
Who's next?
So
I just didn't think they were a playoff team.
Pick them, Eli.
And then the last thing we got is USC versus Stanford, Oklahoma State versus Arizona State, and then BYU and Baylor. So
y'all know
I got USC in that Stanford matchup.
I'm USC as well. He wants to pick Stanford. Pick Stanford.
I know.
Pick
Oh,
Stanford.
All right.
I'm about to
yeah.
say, man.
I want to, but now I can't do it on them. Now I
Jalen's
can't do it
just
on them.
going
Yeah.
against the grain at this point.
I
He
can't
just
do it
got
on that
like
one.
the-
though. USC.
What
USC.
Jalen's doing, he's just like picking like that upset bracket where he just picks everybody to get upset just to have one just in case.
Yeah, because if I do this and I succeed, I'm gonna have like 3 games over y'all. It's gonna be tough for y'all to come back.
Yeah, but then
just
if it
you
goes the
lose all
other
those
way
games,
around,
If it does, then I lose.
you're going to be
It's okay,
trying to play catch up the rest of the season.
I die on that
But-
hill. It's okay.
Yeah. And then
One of those
then
games is gonna be
Oklahoma State and Arizona State.
I got Oklahoma State.
yeah, Oklahoma State, even though they didn't look that good defensively in that first game, I mean, they're playing Arizona State. So,
Right.
I got Oklahoma State.
I
Who you
got
got, Eli?
Oklahoma State. I got Oklahoma State.
Me too.
I don't trust
Big
Arizona
12
State
champs,
at all.
baby.
All right.
And then last but not least, BYU and Baylor. I picked Baylor to win the Big 12.
Same
So
here.
I got Baylor. Obviously, I've got Baylor winning.
I got Baylor.
Yeah.
Too.
That's going to be a good game. That's two ranked teams doing it out. It is at BYU, so some people can make the argument that's going to swing in BYU's way. But Baylor, I just think they're too well rounded for BYU to have that upset. So I'm rocking with the Baylor Bears, my Big 12 champions this year.
I got Baylor too. I thought about taking BYU though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna take Baylor though.
So yeah, I think with Blake Shapen coming back and the pieces that they have coming back on defense, I've got the Baylor Bears in that one. But we got into a lot of college football. I know that was a lot. And now we're going to shift over. And I know now that we've got week 1 of college football out of the way, now we've got week 1 of the NFL coming up. So we love NFL over here just as much as we love college football. So we'll get into this Thursday night football game. How y'all? Yeah, we'll get into Bills versus Rams to kick off Thursday night football. What are you guys' biggest takeaways and what you guys are looking forward to and what your pick is for this game?
You've got arguably the 2 best teams in NFL doing it out week 1 as far as best team in NFC, best team in AFC going into this season. Bills and Rams. It's an argument between who has the best defense in the league between those 2 teams, and obviously both those teams have firepower on offense. But the Rams do have a question mark with Matthew Stafford's elbow injury. And Josh Allen's poised to have a probably MVP season, if not a Super Bowl too. So that's going to be a fun game to watch on that Thursday night prime time to kick off the season. I've got a couple guys in fantasy starting in that game. So, I'm going to be watching every second of that game, hoping Josh Allen throws some touchdowns to my guy, Gabriel Davis. But we'll see. That game's going to be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting to start this NFL off. This might be a hot take because everybody's high on Buffalo. Buffalo's not winning the Super Bowl this year. I'll let all y'all know that now. I'm saying it here. Week 1, Buffalo will not win the Super Bowl. I don't know if y'all think that's a hot take, cold take, whatever you think it is. That's just me putting that out there. As far as his first game, it's gonna be in LA. I think I don't know who to pick. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think they'll, coming off a Super Bowl, they'll be feeling good. I think it's a lot of hype in Buffalo that I don't like right now. So I think it'll be good for them to get humbled week 1, and Aaron Donald do his thing. Stafford, Cooper Kupp, all them guys, Allen Robinson. I think they'll outplay the Bills, and the Bills got to gel through the first couple of weeks before they figure everything out.
Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I got the Rams too. I'm not sure about them winning the Super Bowl either. Not gonna lie to you. It's about 12 to 14 teams that could win it, in my opinion. I mean, you got
12?
Yeah.
That's a lot of teams, bro.
I mean, yeah, you got the AFC West. All 4 of them have a chance. And I mean, I think I think the Saints got a great chance. I think Tampa could make an argument. They got to get healthy, but you can make an argument for them. I think it's about 12 teams. The Dolphins, if everything goes right, until it makes a good jump.
Wait,
you have a lot
to
of
win it.
teams
Hold on. To win the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Nah, You're crazy. You're wilding. First, the Raiders can't win the Super Bowl. Dolphins definitely can't win the Super Bowl.
Why can't the Raiders win the Super Bowl? Why can't the Raiders win the Super Bowl?
The
They're not
Raiders
gonna
or the
win.
Dolphins. Let me. I'm gonna put this out. The Raiders
Go ahead.
and the Dolphins are not making the playoffs. And it's not a knock on either one of those teams, but they're not making the playoffs. Either one of those two teams.
Dolphins got
All
a
right,
chance to
we'll
make the
clip
wild
this.
card.
We'll clip this when these two
Clip
guys
it.
right here. We'll
No,
clip
clip
this
it.
when these two guys
Hey,
right here
I
tear
think-
up the league.
I think the Dolphins make a big improvement this year. I think they have a
I think
winning
they can make
record,
the
but I
wild
don't
card,
think
though.
they're good. I don't think they're good enough to make a wild card with as stacked as the AFC is.
Wow, we're wilding. They can make
They
the
don't
wild
have
card.
enough.
Hold up.
They could. They
You
could sneak into the
tripping.
wild card. They could
Nah,
sneak
they
into
can
the wild
really-
card, but I don't see them making the playoffs. I think they barely miss out.
They don't have
Bro,
enough talent.
You tripping?
I
So
didn't
are
say
you-
that.
wait.
I said I think they barely miss out on the wild card. But I
To
think
who?
they finished 9-8 or 10-7.
No. We talking about Uno, this guy right here. This guy's making the biggest jump out of anyone in the NFL this year. Dolphins, I wouldn't count them out yet, making the playoffs or a
Yeah, I'm
Super
not
Bowl
counting them
run.
out either. I don't know about
No,
that.
I think I got them going to the playoffs as a wild card team. I mean, the wild card teams, the competing is going to end up being the Patriots, Dolphins, in my opinion. I know y'all loyal.
Patriots.
All right, if the Patriots not gonna do it,
Hey, you
then you
gotta
got
stop
Miami.
this.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Wait, hold on.
What?
Listen to this logic. Listen.
Patriots.
First of all right, hold on. If you don't have the Patriots
y'all-
competing for it, who else? That means the NFC East is a two-man race,
Destin,
and the
Destin,
Dolphins
Destin. Hot take. Eli has the Jets.
competing for a wild
No.
card.
He thinks
No.
the Jets are better than the Patriots.
I think the Jets are going to have a better record than the Patriots.
Okay,
He already said that.
you got that. But I'm saying, as far as competing for a wild card, it's got to be. I'll say for you it'll be the Jets then, but it's got to be the Dolphins. Got to
Yeah.
be in there. The Jets for you, but for me it's the Patriots. And then
The Jets compete for a wild card is wild, but
the
No,
AFC
they're not.
West, and
the
then
Jets are not
no,
competing for a wild card, but they're going to have a better record than the
okay,
Pats.
so Miami's already automatically almost up there, and then you got
that's what I'm
either-
saying. How is Miami
Either
not in?
whoever between the Ravens and the Bengals, because both of them can win the division. One of them be competing, and then the AFC West. I think the AFC West gonna beat each other up a lot. So that I think Miami got a pretty strong path to get the wild card. But as far as Super Bowl contention, that is crazy to me, JB. You tripping?
I don't know
Yeah.
why you.
I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders, but now that I think about it, I kind of tripped up on my words. I do think that they can compete for-
You walking it
they're
back.
definitely competing for. Okay,
Walking-
yeah, I'll walk it back because
Okay.
I kind of misinterpreted it. I heard
Kinda.
Super Bowl contender and I said no, but I do think they have a chance to make the wild card as like the 6 or 7 seed.
Okay.
And the Raiders definitely can't contend for no Super Bowl,
Why not?
in my opinion.
Why not?
O line,
I don't think they
I'm
can.
not. I'm not a believer in their O line, and they did improve on defense, but I don't think their defense would be enough. I think they're the worst. I think they're clearly not the best. I think there's two clear teams in their division better than them between Chiefs.
No.
and
No. Let me ask you a question. Who was the team last year that made it to the Super Bowl with one of the worst offensive lines?
That will be the Joe Shiesty Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, Joe Shiesty. They got it. They got Herbert over that guy, right?
First of
They
all,
got-
you
yeah.
think
Yeah,
These,
All right.
these two guys
You-
got Herbert over him.
you wanted
He
to bring
made
that
with a
up
bad
so
offensive
bad?
line. but
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, I've seen the guy go with a bad offensive line, so I don't think that should be a reason
In
why.
your opinion, it's a top 5 quarterback though, and you only had Derek Carr in your top 10. You think he's
I
like
don't.
worse than
I
Dak
don't. But
Prescott?
if your main reason is offensive line play, I just seen a team with probably one of the worst that made it. So I don't know if that's the reason that
They got
could hold it
and they got lucky in my opinion.
lucky.
And I think the Bengals have a better defense than the Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
all right,
yeah,
so
but anyway, I'll make my pick real quick. I got so all y'all picked the Rams, is that right?
I got Bills.
He picked the Bills.
I'm gonna go with you, Noah. I got the Bills. I'm taking the Bills week 1. I think the Rams, I still think they make playoffs, but they have a little bit of Super Bowl hangover. I still think that they win their division. But I think to kick off the year, I got the Bills winning it. They're hungry. They're angry after the Chiefs lost in the playoffs. So they're going to be hungry to go out there and prove a point and make a statement. So I got the Bills in that week 1. Next game, we got the Chiefs and the Cardinals. So what team are y'all taking in that matchup?
I think that game is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be in the 30s, if not 40s. Both those defenses really are kind of weak when it comes to pass game defense, especially with the Chiefs losing Tyrann Mathieu. And those are both good offenses. The Cardinals are kind of depleted without DeAndre Hopkins on suspension. So I'm going to take the Chiefs in that matchup.
I'm taking the Chiefs. I don't think. I mean, the Tyrann Mathieu the part might hurt with in terms of leadership, but he was a lot of plays where he looked scared to get involved. Sometimes that's just me keeping it 100. He would just be late to the play. I'm not. I mean, maybe the leadership thing they might miss out on, but I got the Chiefs. I think Arizona's going to be up and down this whole year with the Kyler Murray and all the leadership and all the crap they got going on over there. So I think opening, I think the Chiefs will take care of business.
Yeah, I agree with Noah. I think there's going to be a shootout, but at the end of the day, if it comes down to a shootout and it's who gets the ball last, I trust Patrick Mahomes more than I trust Kyler Murray, and I think he's going to get the job done at the end of the day when it comes down to crunch time. So I'm going to take the Chiefs in this one. I think it's going to be close. I think the Cardinals put up a good fight, but I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Mahomes is my QB1 for fantasy, so I need him to do his thing, which I think he will because he's the best for a reason. So yeah, I got the Chiefs solely based off just them having better quarterback play. I trust him over Kyler.
See, Kyler's my fantasy QB, so that's why I'm hoping this is a shootout in the 30s and 40s. Because as long as Kyler gets me my fantasy points, I'm fine with the Chiefs taking that win, which I think is going to happen. So I'm fine with Kyler dropping me a little 25 piece week 1.
Yeah, and then next up we got Baker Mayfield and the Panthers taking on his former team, the Cleveland Browns. Now, Deshaun Watson isn't going to be playing, but it's still going to be interesting to see Baker Mayfield take on his former team as being the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. So what way are y'all leaning towards with this one?
I got the Panthers. I got the Panthers in this matchup. I'm not even going to lie. I like Baker Mayfield this year. I think he's got this game circled on his calendar for sure. Playing his old team. It's like it was just destiny who's going to go to the Panthers and have to play the Browns week 1. CMC's back healthy. Panthers got DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson at receiver, and I think that's just better weapons than the Browns have at receiver, like all around wise. Panthers have a solid defense. They got J.C. Horn coming back from injury as well. So I like the Panthers in this week 1 matchup.
I got to agree with them. I think the Panthers will low-key have a shot at making the playoffs this year. So I think it'll start in week 1. I don't care. I mean, Cleveland's the quarter, Deshaun's out, so they're going to be dealing with Jacoby Brissett. So they're going to be struggling offensively. So I got to go with the Panthers in this. Myles Garrett to do his thing, but I don't think he'll be enough.
Nick Chubb's going to get spammed week 1.
True.
I'm gonna take the Browns. Like I said, man, I can't clean sweep y'all. I think CMC is gonna get less. Unfortunately for Noah, he's not gonna get as much rep. I think they're gonna lower those carries a little bit because they see that when he gets 25 to 30 touches, he gets hurt, which is the last thing that the organization or Noah needs. So I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and take the Browns.
Hey, I actually got to go with JP on this one. I got the Browns. I like the Browns in this matchup. Going into it, reading both the teams on paper, the Panthers have a little more weapons, but I think the Browns get the job done. I think defensively, they weren't a bad defensive team last year, and they're going to have Amari Cooper leading that offense in terms of the wide receiver core, and I like Kareem Hunt coming back. He's going to be healthy now. Nick Chubb. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett, he's not a great starting quarterback.
He's him.
But I think he can game manage. He can game manage and do enough to beat the Carolina Panthers. Like, this isn't the Bills we're talking about, or this isn't one of the top teams in the AFC we're talking about. So I think Jacoby Brissett can game manage enough to get the Browns a win over the Panthers in week 1. And I think they pull off the upset.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
What? I mean, what are you laughing about,
No, it's just something you said. It was funny.
Was it Kareem Hunt?
So you're taking the Browns in that matchup. It's interesting. I just don't think their offense is going to be too reliant on Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So and they do have Amari Cooper, but they have Jacoby Brissett throwing them the ball, so it just ain't gonna work. So I'm taking the Panthers for sure.
Yeah, I get it, but you can make the
But I
same
don't
argument for
break it
Baker Mayfield. He was underthrowing Odell Beckham Jr. last year by 15 yards or 10 yards.
That is true.
So
He was
you can
underthrowing.
make that same argument for Baker Mayfield. He hasn't proven that he's a reliable quarterback in the NFL
Baker's
yet.
been hurt, bro. Baker was hurt last year, bro. Baker's finally
Yeah,
healthy.
he had that torn labrum. That affects your throw power.
That's fair. And I think Baker does have a bit of a step-up year, but I think it's going to take some time for him to get acclimated. So I got the Browns in week 1. I think the Browns pull off the upset. And then the next matchup we got Broncos versus Seahawks. Russell Wilson, another quarterback that moved locations, is taking on his former team as well.
I think
you guys got in that matchup.
Go ahead, Destin.
No, I think we all gonna agree on this one. I don't know. Jalen might want to be contrarian, but I'm going with the Broncos. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this game in Seattle?
Yes.
I think it is. I think they'll go in there, get a dub. Russell Wilson to get some payback. I know he's looking forward to that. And I think the Broncos have a pretty good showing week 1. And, I don't have any faith in Seattle's offense. I mean, they got weapons, but who's going to throw them the ball, right? So I think it'll be I don't think it'll be too close. It might be competitive in the beginning, but I think in the end, Broncos will pull it out and win it by 2 scores.
Yeah, I think altogether the Broncos just have a more complete team. Defensively, they're better. Offensively, they've got way more weapons. They're just going to completely annihilate the Seahawks. I see this being a 15, 20-plus point win for the Broncos. So I think that they run away with this game, and Russell Wilson gets his payback on Pete Carroll and that trash offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think it's Broncos by a landslide in this game. Like Destin said, who's going to throw DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett the ball? And they already named Geno Smith their QB1, which is wild to me because I feel like he was playing at West Virginia when I was like 5 years old. The Broncos, I really like their squad. They have a solid defense. They've had that for the past few years. But with Jerry Jeudy coming back from injury, he'll finally have a good QB1. Cortland Sutton as well. And then that Broncos backfield between Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon is going to be solid, not to mention Russell Wilson back there at quarterback. So Broncos by a landslide in that matchup.
I don't think that – sorry, I just want to make a quick little point. I don't think it's crazy for them to name Geno Smith the starting quarterback, though, because Drew Lock threw 3 picks in a preseason game this year. So
I'm not saying that I'm saying Geno Smith shouldn't be the starter because of who the Seahawks have between him and Drew Lock. And how Drew Lock looked in that last preseason game, I would have named Geno Smith the starter as well. I'm just saying it's crazy that Geno Smith is a starter in this league right now. And it feels like he was playing at West Virginia so long ago. He's just been in the league so long, and yet he's starting again. So just crazy.
But yeah, I got to agree. Yeah, I got the Broncos. Another fantasy guy got Sutton, so I'm hoping he gets a tutty on that terrible secondary of the Seattle Seahawks. And I just don't trust Seattle. I think Seattle's gonna turn over the ball too much, and it's gonna get away from them quick and early. So I got the Broncos by double digits as well.
Right, and then this next matchup, this is gonna be a good one. This is gonna be next up. We got the Bucs and the Cowboys. So rematch of last year's season opener for both teams.
Where's this one played?
It's at the Cowboys, ain't it?
I think it's in Dallas.
I think it's at the Cowboys.
It's in Dallas.
I believe it's in Dallas. Because
last
year was in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it's in Dallas. I got the Buccaneers in this matchup. Cowboys lost pretty much every single weapon they had besides CeeDee Lamb. So going up against that Buccaneers defense, I don't like how that looks. Not to mention the Cowboys losing 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen as well. So I think the Buccaneers Buccaneers are having their injury issues, but they got Tom Brady. They got Tom Brady at quarterback, Leonard Fournette running back, Mike Evans receiver. So I mean, and a good defense. So I think that's going to be an easy win for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, this is tough for me. I don't. Both teams dealing with so many injuries. I think I'm gonna go with Dallas. Them being at home, I think Tom Brady, what he's been dealing with off the field, might get them off to a slow start in the beginning of the season. So that'll be the main reason I'm going against this. I won't be shocked if Tampa Bay get things together. But this first game, I think I'm gonna rock out with Dak in the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Tampa. I think Brady's gonna be able to torch that Dallas secondary digs. You know how he is. He's very inconsistent. He likes to try to get those picks,
Gamble.
and I think Evans will probably eat him alive. To be quite frank with you, and then he's gonna be dumping it off the Fournette. He's gonna be getting carries and catching out the backfield. So I just don't trust the receiving core for Dallas. And it's like, if you're trying to put everything on CD Lamb, I'm just not sure if, with him being this been his first year where he's wide receiver one truly. I'm just not sure with all the pressure being on him to make the catches. Obviously, Schultz is going to get a lot of those goals too. I'm just not sure how effective that the offense is going to look, especially now with an older Zeke that's not going to be as good. And I just don't trust the Cowboys offense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of sort of last game where it gets to be kind of a shootout. Like I think this is going to be in the high 20s to mid 30s or high 30s. But I got Buccaneers taking this one though. I think Dak Prescott's going to sling the ball. I think he's going to, find ways to, kind of surprise people, kind of like how we did in last year's season opener a bit. But ultimately, the Buccaneers are the better team. You've got Tom Brady, you've got Mike Evans, you've got a lot more weapons, a lot more reliable and experienced weapons compared to the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys are a bit depleted too right now, and they've lost some pieces on defense. So I'm taking the Bucs in this one. I've got them as one of my favorites to win the whole entire league. So, and taking the Super Bowl. So I think they kick off the year with a win. And then this next matchup, Chargers versus Raiders.
That's another one of those matchups. It's going to be a shootout because of both teams have tried to upgrade their defenses in the offseason. Both have made significant upgrades, but I don't think it's enough in the AFC West just to contend with all the firepower it has, especially between the Chiefs or between the Chargers and the Raiders. I'm going to take the Chargers in this matchup, even though I'm high on the Raiders. I really like Derek Carr. Chargers are just the better team. Between Herbert, Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams on the offense is just crazy. And then adding J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack on defense, this is like the cherry on top. That's what the Chargers needed. So I'm going to take them in this matchup. I think it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Chargers being at home will help them. They've been the offense has been together for a while, so I think they'll be able to play really well. And I think the Raiders got to get used to playing with each other. And I think that, the Chargers got high hopes. It'll be good for them to get off to a good start. And I think Bosa, Matt, they'll be able to get after. Y'all know I'm not a big fan of the Raiders' offensive line, as I stated on. So I think they'll be able to get after Carr in the game. And, so I'm rocking with the Chargers.
Yeah, give me the Chargers too. I think Justin Herbert's my preseason MVP favorite to win the MVP this year. So I think he's going to kick off the year on the right foot. I think with all the pieces that they've added to that defense, it's going to put him in a much better position to win a lot more games this year. And I have them winning the AFC West division. So I think they kick off the year with a big win over the Raiders. So give me the Chargers.
I got the Raiders. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Herbert's going to have a late pick though. That's going to cost them. But it's going to be a great game though, and I think Devontae Adams is going to be a big addition to the offense. They do have an iffy offensive line, but I think Devontae Adams, a guy like that you can pass it out to, will make up for that.
See, you brought up the offensive line. I think that's what gave the edge to me towards the Chargers in this matchup, is because if you look all over the field, they're pretty evenly matched up as far as roster wise. Like the Raiders have Devontae Adams, and like on defense they have Max Crosby and like guys like that, and Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and Derek Carr is not a scrub quarterback. In my opinion, he's top 10, top 12 in the league. And but then the Chargers, you have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Then on defense, you got Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James, highest paid safety in the league now. So I think as far as what makes the difference to me in this matchup is how good the Chargers defensive line is and how bad the Raiders offensive line is. It's going to make the difference, and Derek Carr might have some trouble.
I think J.C. Jackson's out for this game. I don't think he's ready to go yet.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot about that. But having Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack coming off each edge on a bad offensive line, it's going to breed problems for Derek Carr. And the Raiders, they have a question mark in their backfield. Like they have Josh Jacobs, but they also have like two guys that they brought in, and they apparently are going to have a three-way committee in their backfield this year, from what I've been seeing out of camp. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't really necessarily like committee backfields, besides a couple exceptions, just because both running backs have different talents. But with committee backfields, you don't have consistency, you don't have trust between the quarterback and running back. So that's why I'm taking the Chargers in this matchup, just because of how bad the Raiders' offensive line and their protection as a whole is.
Yeah, and then last but not least, we got the Vikings and the Green Bay Packers taking on each other. Do y'all know who has this game at home? Is it the Vikings or is it the Packers?
Hold on, I got you right here. See, it's at the Vikings.
Okay, yeah. So I think I've got the Vikings and Packers splitting. So I think the Vikings take this week 1 matchup. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think the Vikings with this new offense are going to throw the Packers off a little bit. And I think Rodgers and Kirk Cousins go back and forth with one another, throwing blows at one another. But ultimately, I have the Packers losing in a really close game to the Vikings.
See, if it's close, I can't pick against the Packers. I think if it's close, and I think it will be close, Aaron, I think he'll get the job done. I think it's going to take a little minute for the Vikings to get acclimated to the new offense. But I think when they do get going with it, it'll be they'll be great offensively. I think the Packers might end up sweeping them because I think they can win this game. Then Lambeau is going to be tough to win later in the season. So obviously, I got the Packers win their division, so I'm leaning that way. So yeah, that's basically mine.
I had a Vikings-Packers split as well this year, but you got a good offense against a really good defense between the Vikings and Packers. I'm gonna take the Vikings in this matchup, just because the Vikings are home. All their guys are healthy because it's week 1. They've had this full off season of getting to know this new offense that Justin Jefferson apparently loves because he's getting all the targets. And then you also have Adam Thielen and Irv Smith coming back from injury to add on to that weapon, or to those weapons in that offense, not to mention Dalvin Cook. So I like the Vikings in this matchup. Packers have a really great defense. Their offense is very depleted. If any sports fans have been paying attention to Aaron Rodgers, he hates his receivers he has now because apparently they can't catch the ball and they're young and they just make mistakes. And he's just saying that's unacceptable. So I think the Packers are going to be relying too much on their run game, and the Vikings are just going to be airing it out all over the field.
Like that pick, Noah.
I got the Packers. Kirk Cousins can be inconsistent at times. He can throw costly interceptions. And that Packers defense is just too solid. You can't make mistakes against them. And I just trust Aaron Rodgers to make less mistakes than Kirk Cousins. And I think they're going to rely too much on Jettis. And I don't trust Thielen at the age that he's at. And I just think that they're going to slow down Cook, and Cook won't go off. So I got to take the Packers. I think the Packers are going to sweep. Like that's what I'm saying. Because it's going to be tough for Lambeau as well.
Right. And yeah, that covers all of our college football and NFL picks going into this next week. And last but not least, we got a quick buy or sell segment. So we'll have a list of players and a list of teams from the NFL and college football that we want to buy or sell on right now based off of the buzz going around them right now.
What's the first matchup you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with this first subject, on the buy or sell, are y'all taking Baker Mayfield? Are y'all buying or y'all selling on him?
Oh yeah, I'm buying Baker Mayfield for sure. He had that surgery. He repaired his torn labrum that I think affected him more than people know last year, and he's got more weapons than I think he had in Cleveland because OBJ and Jarvis Landry were kind of injury prone right throughout Baker's stint with them as teammates. Yeah. So I think having DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and CMC in his backfield, I think it's going to bode well for him, especially going up against his former team. I think, like I said earlier, he's got that matchup circled in his calendar. And like he said he won't use better terms than he did, but he said he's going to mess him up. And so I'm buying Baker for sure week 1.
I gotta agree with him. I mean, he said he rattled off all the reasons that I'm buying him as well. I mean, he's gonna get healthy, got the weapons, so I think he'll have a comeback year, bounce back year for him, and I think he'll prove a lot of his haters wrong.
I'm
Yeah,
buying as well.
I'll agree. I'm buying too. I like Baker Mayfield. I think he drops that week 1 matchup, but I think over the course of the season, he is going to show a lot more improvements compared to his more recent years that he's had in Cleveland. So I'll buy Baker Mayfield too. Next up, we got moving to college football, buying or selling on Florida.
I'm buying. Are we talking about just like over the course of the season or just Florida's future?
Just this season.
I'm buying Florida. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win the SEC East, but I'm buying the improvement they had, especially at their quarterback position. I mean, this is looking like it's going to be their best quarterback they've had since Tim Tebow with Anthony Richardson. So, and I really like their head coach, Billy Napier. He's a winner. He's from that Nick Saban tree. So from college football history, Saban trees work out well. So I'm buying Florida with their leadership that they have.
I'm selling Florida. I just don't trust anybody other than the quarterback right now, and he's not 100%, not a question mark right now. I just think he'll play good in a couple big games early. But I mean, other than the quarterback, I don't have any faith in any other guy except for the linebacker they have. So I think people want Florida to go on this magical Cinderella run, and for them to win the East. And I know you didn't say they were winning the East, but I think that's what people are expecting Richardson to carry them to, and I just don't know if it'll be enough.
Yeah, I'm buying on Florida. I think that they made drastic improvements compared to what they did last year. And I think Billy Napier is a huge step up from what they had in years past. I think the culture there that he's built, he's going to change that Florida culture, get it back to the way it used to be. And like Noah touched on, this is the best quarterback Florida's had since Tim Tebow. Athletically, physically, he's just a physical beast. You know, his attributes are maxed out. Like if I made an NBA 2K player, like it would be built similar to what Anthony Richardson is built like in real life. So I'm buying on Florida right now. I'm buying the hype. I think that they made big improvements. I see them going 11-1 or 10-2 this year in the regular season.
What?
11-1? They barely
11-1 or 10-2.
Man,
oh
that's
my
got to
god!
be something that you fall back on.
Wait, so
Eli,
that means who are they? Who you got to have them beating somebody?
I'm pulling it up right now.
You pull up their
need to
schedule.
say it. I gotta say
them either losing one game to Georgia or I got them lose Georgia and Tennessee.
Okay, so yeah.
So you think Georgia and Tennessee are the only 2 losses?
That's not them beating the number 7 team in the country isn't just a fluke. Like they went out there and they were physical. The defense was making open field tackles. And on both sides of the ball, Anthony Richardson, he made a 50-yard touchdown look like a walk in the park. Like it was nothing.
Okay, bro.
All right,
come
so
on now.
Eli,
I'm buying Florida.
Hold on, let's hit Noah.
So Florida's potential games that could go either way this year. Obviously, Georgia, I'm thinking that's a loss. That might be one of the losses Eli considered. But they have Texas A&M at Texas A&M. That's a tough game.
I have them beating Texas A&M.
And they play
Texas A&M look like dog water.
Yeah, they did. I agree with you. But they play Kentucky this week at home, and then they play at Tennessee in a couple weeks. They play at Tennessee in a couple weeks. Yeah, at Neyland Stadium.
And that's one of the games that I said that they could potentially lose. I see them either losing both to Tennessee and Georgia or just Georgia, but I think they go 10-2 or better.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, their schedule does look favorable other than that Georgia game, maybe that Tennessee game. So I mean, I'm not saying that's a horrible take by Eli right there. Their schedule is pretty favorable.
I think it's a horrible take. I think at best 8-4.
Whoa.
Who else did they listen to? Okay, outside of look.
Eli, I have them losing to Kentucky. I have them losing to Kentucky.
That's true. He did have that earlier.
I don't see that.
Okay.
I don't see that.
That's one loss.
That's not just an automatic dub. I don't understand why.
No.
So where do you get 4 losses from, though?
Huh?
You said 8-4 at best.
8-4, yeah, 8-4 at best for me.
Wow.
So you think
only trusting the quarterback, and that's all we really trust. I
True.
can't stretch it out to 10 wins. What?
So,
I only trust the quarterback.
Jalen,
I don't trust the offensive line. I don't trust
Bro,
the
what is
receiver.
Eli doing?
I don't trust the defense.
I'm
But
recording
all I'm
this,
gonna
bro.
say is, you know what? Winston's so great. He's gonna get us 10 wins. No, that's not what.
So,
Jalen,
this Florida team
Wow.
is not being team's
Wow.
not being coached by Dan Mullen anymore. Billy Napier is a winner. So from what it looks
I
like,
think
Anthony
y'all are putting too
Richardson
much
is
into
too.
one game. If that interception doesn't happen, none of y'all are saying that they're a 10-win team right now. But now they're a 10-win team.
I don't know if they're a 10-win team.
I don't think they're
I think
11 wins is definitely a stretch. 10 to 11 is a stretch, in my opinion.
I think their floor.
gotta
I
say-
think their floor. I think now that they've beaten Utah, I think their floor is 9 wins and their ceiling's 11.
You think they can win
and I
11
could-
games?
11 games?
That's their ceiling.
Yeah.
That means they're only dropping to Georgia. That means they beat
I
Tennessee.
mean, it's not
at
just
Tennessee.
Anthony
They
Richardson.
got to go
It-
to A&M? That's Tennessee? No.
Did you watch
A&M's not as
They
good.
could all be
A&M's
lost.
not good.
They could all be
Jalen.
dubs, but they could all be lost.
Jalen,
Wait,
did
is
you watch
that-
A&M against Sam Houston State? Did you watch them? They barely.
So where you
won
getting
that
your
game.
4 losses from, JP? JP, where you getting your 4 losses from?
Eli.
Bro, they struggled against Sam Houston State.
So change your pick on your other team.
NC
If
State.
you want to keep the same energy. See,
Sam
now you
Houston
wanna be
State does not compare to
No,
East
don't
Carolina.
do that. If you want to do that with this team, you have to do it with the other team.
Why are you dodging my question? You're
not
bringing up my
dodging it.
you're bringing
You're
up
not
my
being
ACC
consistent.
take when we're talking about Texas A&M. This has nothing to do with NC State. This has to do with Texas
You're
A&M.
not being consistent.
You're not
One
sticking with
team,
your pick.
one team can
You're
get
not
away
showing
with it
any
about 1
confidence.
point.
Jalen,
One
you're
team
not
can
showing
get away
any
with winning
confidence
about
in your
1 point,
pick
but
with
within
Texas
another
A&M
team,
beating Florida.
the season is over with because they struggled. When the same other team struggled with their team that they played, but you saying, oh, it's okay because it was week 1 jitters. But then if the other team did it, it's not week 1 jitters. They're just bad. It was Sam Houston State. East Carolina's not that much better. So
Again.
you can't have it both ways.
Wait, so hold on.
Again, let me say something.
Don't
All
start
right,
at
Let me
both
say
ends.
something.
Be consistent.
Again,
That's why I brought it up. You've not been consistent. Your one team it's okay. Week 1 jitters. No, just say today struggle. You either got to say week 1 jitters for both teams, or you got to say both teams are out of it. You can't have it one way for 2 different teams when they were both ranked high. Can't do that. That's my issue.
like I said, we're talking about Texas A&M and Florida right now, and what Texas
Okay.
A&M chances are against Florida, and you completely switch the talking subject to NC
That's
State versus
consistent.
East Carolina.
You're
No,
not
it's
being
not.
consistent.
Because we're not talking about the ACC and we're not talking about NC State. We're talking about Texas A&M and the way they performed in
All
week
right.
1 against Sam Houston State. But
So that eliminates them
Hold
from
on,
winning.
hold on, real quick, because y'all keep going in circles. But what's the 4 losses you got? You said at best 4 losses, so I need the 4 losses. They already beat Utah
Kentucky, Tennessee,
That's
A&M, and Georgia.
and Georgia. That A&M game could go either way.
A&M, they got
That's
to go
50-50 though. That's 50-50.
I got A&M in that game.
And how far is that in the season? Because if A&M ain't improved
It's
by
late.
then,
It's late in the season. That's like their second to last game.
Destin, you already said you trust the quarterback. Do you trust
No.
anything else before?
I'm not. I don't think they win
Why is it
11
crazy
games
for
this
me
year.
to say the highest 8-4? To me, that's not
Because I
crazy.
think they can win 9 games and they can push 10 games. They
But
can
they
win 9 games.
They for the 8. They could lose those too, though.
so look, if their highest ceiling is 8-4, what's their floor? You think that they could only win 5 games this year?
They took 6.
You telling me Florida, after beating a top 10 team, their floor is 5 games to win this year if their ceiling is 8? That's insane.
So the biggest difference is he thinks that you put too much stock into this one game because you keep
No,
referring to
literally,
that.
ask Eli what was his ranking. He didn't even want to tell me what his ranking was before this game because he knew.
No,
he
I
didn't have
said
him
going
in the top
into the
five.
I literally said when you asked me that question, I had
You
Anthony
dodged it.
Richardson
You
as a
dodged it.
top
You did
5.
not answer.
No, I said I had him as a top 5 quarterback in the SEC, and that's on record. But anyway, I think we've been talking about Florida a little too much. And this next one, buy or sell Saquon Barkley. Who y'all got, buying or selling on him?
I think I'm selling on him. Even though I think he has the potential to prove me wrong, prove me very wrong. I think I'm selling on him just because the Giants as a team are terrible. And with Daniel Jones at quarterback, The receivers showing no effort in games and in practice. Offensive line still a question mark. So, and I think they're going to be too reliant on Saquon and him coming off that injury. I just don't know. I'd sell while his stock is still high enough. You know what I mean?
I'm buying. I mean, I think this guy is the most talented running back prospect in the history of football.
See, you insane. You insane.
Wait, was he not? Wait, was he not?
No,
Wait.
no.
Who was?
I mean, that's what they were saying. That's what they were saying about him coming out of the draft. I mean, that's true.
All time
ever in the history of the universe.
So you think Saquon is better than AOT?
Wait, hold on.
He said all time.
On the field, he hasn't proven that he's the best ever. But I'm just saying, as a prospect, he on like if you just built in the player, he's the most talented player to ever touch a ball. And
I would take AOT over Saquon.
I think a prime
college version too.
Saquon, I think if Saquon would have never got hurt and if he was around more adequate talent in New York, he could have been. I think he's the same level athlete as a Patrick Mahomes, Bo Jackson, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders. That's the type of Odell Beckham. That's the type of class of athlete I think he's in. I just think he's surrounded by such low level incompetence that he hasn't been able for that.
That's a stretch, but okay.
So I think he'll be back. I give him 1,000 yards rushing. I think he's bounced back. He'll be back the way he was. I think he'll be back.
Yeah, I'm buying on Saquon, but I'm absolutely selling on the rest of the Giants roster and the way they play. I think Saquon's going to have a crazy good year, but everything else about the New York Giants just is a turnoff for me. But I do think that they feed Saquon. They get Saquon involved more, and I think he's able to stay healthy, and I do think that he has a way better season this year. So I'll buy on Saquon.
I agree. I buy on him too. I'm not buying on all time, but I think he's gonna have a bounce back season. I think he's gonna have 1,000-yard season. But I'm not into Destin stock in him. My goodness.
Yeah, Destin with some hot takes over here. We'll have to wait and see about that. That's like a take that we'll have to wait 10 years for.
He said all time.
Really,
man's gonna be the best back in today's game. Forget all time. Henry's still here. Don't disrespect him.
Henry's about to be old, washed up.
Well, I'm just saying. Then, you still got to put respect on his name.
Yeah, and then last but not least, we'll switch it up with a player from college football, Smith and Njigba, the wide receiver 1 for Ohio State. Are y'all buying or selling on him?
I mean, he is out the next 2 weeks with his injury, but I mean, going into the season, he was arguably the best receiver in college football. So I mean, I'm still buying on him. I'll buy the dip, I guess, since he's injured. So I'm buying him just because he the talent he has and the size he has paired with CJ Stroud and those Big Ten defenses. I'm buying on Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, I'm buying on him too. I mean, I think he showed me enough last year. Talented quarterback, great offensive system, good old line. I think he'll have a great year. People gonna hate on him because he's injured and kind of out a little bit, but I think he'll come back, bounce back.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still buying on him. Now, compared to his value before the season, I would have to sell. But I mean,
what? Oh my God!
I'm sorry. Well, look, I'm only saying that because before the season,
my God, one game changes the scope for Eli. Crazy out here.
I'm saying just based off the fact that he's going to be missing weeks, that he has no chance to win Heisman into the year.
So you're going to sell on
Heisman,
that?
but now, no, I think I said based on the Heisman, I'm selling, but based on just him as a player, once he gets back healthy 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm buying on that.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were selling him as a player since he didn't do nothing.
No.
I was like, wait. Okay, I'm buying, of course. Yeah, he's hurt, but he'll be back. He's that guy.
Yeah,
he's him.
But yeah, we got into a lot of different topics, and it feels good to have college football back, have the NFL coming up here just in a few days. But we really appreciate all y'all tuning in and listening into the Rundown podcast. And I know we got a bit of a different setup with this Zoom meeting, but that's not going to change the fact that we're coming at y'all with some fire content. So we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and make sure to come in and tune in next week for some more hot takes.
You guys make sure we're gonna try to get this on YouTube. So make sure to like the video, subscribe, comment, share with everyone you love, and Spotify for music. You know where to find us.
Yeah, I got one thing to
Yeah.
say. If you made it this far into the content, shout out to you because you're a real one. If you made it this far, because this is our longest episode yet.
Yeah, y'all let us know how y'all like the longer episodes.
Yeah, but we appreciate all you guys for tuning in and listening into this week's episode, and we will be back next week better than ever. So make sure to come back and listen in to us. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, stay up, stay blessed. We out.
Peace.
Love y'all.